This is Optimal Finance Daily, episode 425. This is how much you really need to be financially independent by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. And I am your host and narrator, Dan. Happy Friday the 13th to you. Maybe this will be a little bit of a warm-up for Halloween, which is, of course, just about 2.5 weeks away. And before we get to today's post, I want to encourage you to share your feedback with us. If you have any topic requests or thoughts about the show, please share them at oldpodcast.com. Now let's get to our post as we optimize your life. This is how much you really need to be financially independent by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. A year ago, I watched Fight Club. So now I'm watching Fight Club again as a reminder of how much I've grown. You see, last year I put down my 14-year-old cat because he was suffering from congestive heart failure. And then I quit a career that took 15 years to build and retired at 37, while everyone was telling me I was nuts. And then a 4-year relationship ended. All those things happened in 3 months. And when huge changes are all happening in 3 months, it can feel pretty overwhelming. That's when you lay on the couch and watch Fight Club, and Brad Pitt's character Tyler Durden says something that resonates with you. It's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. I think it would have been easy for me to sit around my stuffy condo, sitting there drinking orange juice, feeling sorry for myself, but I saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for growth. I wasn't getting the things I wanted to get out of life. And if you're not getting the things you want to get out of life, then you need to change to become the person who can. Why? If you stay the same, you're going to get what you've always gotten. Lately, doing interviews or podcasts, I get asked, "What does your day look like?" And I never know how to respond to that question. But here's the answer. I've been spending the last year transforming myself into the person who can get the things they want. That's another article for another time, but suffice it to say that I've grown more than I've ever grown before. I'm lucky because I had the space for it, and I had the space for it because I became financially independent. So if you've been wanting to know how much you need to be financially independent, it comes down to the 4% rule. The 4% rule means you can safely withdraw 4% from your investment accounts each year, adjust your withdrawal for inflation, and never run out of money. Here's an example. So you have $500,000 in an investment account. You can withdraw $20,000 the first year. That's 500,000 times 0.04. Then you forget about the 4% rule and increase your withdrawal each year by the prior year's inflation rate. Let's say inflation is 3%. So in the second year, you withdraw $20,600, 20,000 times 1.03, and so on. Make sense? There's been a lot of research to back this up. Bill Bengen's 1994 and 1996 papers and the studies by professors at Trinity University in 1998 and 2011. Originally, the 4% rule applied to traditional 30-year timeframes, but now it works for any time horizon. In a Reddit Ask Me Anything, Bengen said, quote, "If you plan to live forever, 4% should do it," end quote. And the new rule for a 30-year timeframe is 4.5%. I always told myself I'd be financially independent when I had $1 million, because I spent around $40,000 a year, and that's 4% of $1 million. When I finally convinced myself to quit my job, my investment accounts could support a 3% withdrawal. And now that I'm in year 2 of retirement, I'm withdrawing a measly 2%. What's going on? 2 things are happening. First, I didn't realize how much work was costing me. Commuting every day, buying new work clothes, paying for convenience. Without the overhead of a job, my spending has gone down by 15% or so. And as I'm sitting here watching my spending go down, my investments are growing. I knew I was overthinking retiring early because I overthink everything to an absurd degree, and the 2% withdrawal confirms that. Anyways, if you reverse the math on all this, you can simply multiply your yearly spending by 25 to find your number. You should do this right now, because when you multiply your spending by 25, you start seeing that becoming financially independent isn't about how much money you have, it's about how much money you spend. Because how much money you spend determines how much you need. Here, let me explain. If you spend $20,000, you need $500,000. Spend $40,000, you need $1 million. Spend $80,000, you need $2 million. Spend $120,000, you need $3 million. And spend $160,000, you need $4 million. When you hear people say that $1 million or $2 million isn't enough, they're not wrong, but what they're saying is they have an expensive lifestyle. And having an expensive lifestyle is fine, but years ago, I realized that my number would be lower if I spent less. And if I spent less, I'd have more to save. And if I had more to save, then I'd get to my number faster. That's how you become financially independent. It's all about the relationship between your numbers. Which reminds me of a meeting I had with an executive once. We were pretty close, and he shared with me that he hated his job and didn't want to keep doing what he was doing. I'll never forget him looking around his office and saying, "Chris, this is it for me." Meaning he was going to keep doing what he hated for the rest of his life because he wasn't willing to work on the relationship between his numbers. And if you're not willing to work on your numbers, then you'll never be free to do anything. Just like Tyler Durden said. You just listened to the post titled, "This is How Much You Really Need to Be Financially Independent" by Chris Reining of chrisreining.com. And that's going to do it for another week of episodes here on Optimal Finance Daily. Thank you, as always, for being a subscriber and a regular listener. You have played a huge part in keeping our podcasts going. So have yourselves a great weekend. I'll see you on Monday, where your optimal life awaits.